2023, South African agricultural exports hit a record of $13.2 billion, up from around 4% on the year prior. But the operating environment during the year was not an easy one, with many headwinds facing the sector. These included load shedding, higher fuel prices, and concerns around the impacts of geopolitics, among other factors.
And there are a couple of things that farmers and agribusinesses are complaining about, such as the persistent inefficiencies at the ports, road networks that are not really functioning well and are deteriorating, the railway lines that remain an issue. But we also see rising crime in rural South Africa, which is keeping the environment quite difficult to operate for many businesses.
Over and above the usual concerns, the latest and more pressing one is the hotter than expected weather conditions in the country. There are concerns that the 2023-2024 summer plantings could be undermined by the lack of rain.
It is really only around about February where conditions intensified and caused great damage, particularly for the folks that are in the grains and the oilseed sector, where irrigation is really minimal.
Even at the recent Monetary Policy Committee media briefing, Reserve Bank Governor Lisicha Kganyago also raised potential inflation risk concerns when it comes to the country's crops, saying South Africa's food growing sector had arrived at a difficult juncture. Official national crop estimates see maize output in May coming down by 26%.
Food inflation has now slowed, but this is a critical time in the growing season, and the weather has been unusually hot and dry, which may cause food inflation to pick up again.
Meanwhile, livestock farmers are very concerned about the current hot conditions in terms of animals' access to water and nutrition, while also still reeling from animal diseases that hit the sector last year.
They remain quite worried about the animal health issues. Yes, last year we struggled with many diseases, foot and mouth disease in cattle, avian influenza in poultry, African swine fever amongst the piggery folks. But these have also, to a certain extent, slowed or improved the conditions this time around. But I think the tail end effects of that are still there in the businesses, and the farmers are worried about some of those conditions.
Agri-economists say while South African farmers are known to be nimble and adaptable to crisis situations, they argue that the need to address the country's specific structural challenges has now become even more urgent, given that they're already proving costly to the agricultural exporting sector.
However, the prevailing logistical and infrastructure issues cannot be outweighed by their ability and to produce. Therefore, for this export-oriented sector, it's very important that the logistical constraints be addressed as a matter of urgency. And it's also very important that we retain the traditional export markets that we currently have, as well as try to access new export markets.
Given the agricultural sector's long-term potential, farmers' confidence is expected to increase once structural issues are seen to be addressed. Meanwhile, South Africans will need to brace themselves for potentially higher food prices as high-temperature conditions show no signs of letting up. Nompumelelo Siziba, SABC News, Johannesburg.